Monday, April 19th. We are live streaming, and you are all on the Real Kyper at Noon show. Hope everybody had a great weekend, a safe one wherever you are, and your world's looking a little bit more normal than it has over the last little while. I can tell you here in Ontario, that's not the case. We are shut down here more than ever, and our numbers are alarming here. ICUs are alarming. Deaths are alarming. So I understand trying to do whatever it takes to control this. But they took away golf. Now, can you imagine now Doug Maclean coming on this show if Florida, the state of Florida, took away his golf? We wouldn't have any reports. We wouldn't have any stories about driving somebody and then accidentally breaking their club in the back seat. We'd have none of that. Mac, I was supposed to golf Sunday at 10:30, and they took that away from me.
Yeah, I see that. I'm not, it's a little surprising, but I guess they got to, whatever they do, they have to do to try to help. But I looked this morning, Florida had 6,800 new cases yesterday in Florida, and it's as wide open as you can possibly be. I went for a jog this morning, and I ran into 3 people with masks on. I mean, I don't know. I mean, no deaths. I mean, Palm Beach County had 400 new cases where I live, and no deaths in Palm Beach County. Very few recently. Well, I guess that's a positive, but
we had golf. Good. We had golf last summer here, and again, I'm okay with doing whatever it takes to get the job done. But where's the definitive science or the stats that say that we were spreading this virus outdoors with a foursome that's not allowed to ride in carts together? I mean, outside. Can't think of a safer place to be than outside
on a golf course,
10, 12, 15 feet apart from everybody. Like I never stood closer than 10, 15 feet in a foursome. Had my own cart. Someone tees off. They walk away. I'm up. Never. But hey, okay,
Jill,
I don't want to start this show on a Monday.
Jill and I, last time we played, we had the plastic barrier between the two of us in our golf cart. You know, where you went in the same cart, but you have the plastic barrier. So she's going to check with them in PEI to see if we can have that permanently installed.
I like that on this show. And you're like 100 million miles away from me, and I'd still want it. But the good news is, everybody, we've got an addition to the Real Kyper at Noon show. Yes, Doug's here. Joe and Jordan are here. But Joe's got an addition to his family, which makes it an addition to the Real Kyper at Noon show. Joe, are you out there? Can you tell us about our newest addition to the family?
Yeah, we'll have to figure out a way to get a picture up on Twitter or something like that. But youngest member of the family for sure. I got a little Great Dane puppy over the weekend. Second one I've had. So she's very sweet. Her name's Madden. We'll have to figure out a way to show the guys kind of what she's looking like, because she's not going to be looking this small for long. That's for sure. She's looking tiny in her crate, but it's going to be something that she grows into very quickly, I'd imagine.
Wow. I can only think exciting. Of Marmaduke. That's the only Great Dane I know.
We're
awesome dogs.
It's funny how things change as you get older. You know, we're thinking every time we get together with friends, it's how are the grandchildren? What are the grandchildren's names? And then, you know, what are the grandchildren? And then Jill says, well, we don't have any grandchildren, but Clark and Mackenzie, they each had a date last week. So it was a positive.
My mom and dad say the same thing to me as well.
Get a
good.
puppy, Mac.
And they're not losers. I mean, I'm just saying, it's just, you know, it's just the way it is. You take, you know.
Just Get more dogs, Mac. It's a in thing now. It's just one's not enough. You need 2 or 3 now.
And then the thing becomes that your dog starts to look like you, or you start to look like your dog. That's the latest thing. So it's a weird thing. But anyway, we've had dogs all our lives. It's been great.
All right.
Congratulations. I mean, that's such a great thing for you, Joe.
Yeah, I mean, you got to fend off the engagement ring somehow, right? So hopefully this buys me a little time.
A lot of time. I don't want to see that food bill in about 6 months.
As somebody asked, my daughter asked us how old we were when we got married, and Jill said she was 21. She said, "That's gross, Mom." So you can last longer now, Joe.
Good to know. I'm excited.
All right.
A lot of work though, that's for sure. I'd rather just be watching hockey all night like you guys.
Well, we're starting this off on a great week with the addition of Madison. Is that what we
Madden?
said?
Yeah,
Madden.
John Madden. John Madden.
There you go.
All right, Madden.
I'm about to put her on screen for everybody. I'm working on it behind the scenes.
All right, you let us know when that comes. But we're happy on that. We're happy on our results last week, guys. Terrific response from all of you on the show. We had some record numbers. We only launched this, I think, the 3rd week in July. And correct me if I'm wrong, Jordan, but you think that we're closing in on over 1 million viewers already? Is that true?
Yes, sir. Just about 140,000 away from that million number of
wow, that's kind of cool.
On YouTube. On YouTube. That's
and
amazing.
we are closing on 10,000 who have subscribed to the show as well.
Mm-hmm.
Could we even hit that today? Is that possible?
I would be disappointed if we didn't.
You know what? I was going to phone 40 friends in PEI, but I didn't know how to tell them to subscribe. It's like I didn't know how to explain it to them,
Wow.
So I thought I'd leave it.
We're all questioning in the chat right now if you have 40 friends.
Yeah. So when I used to do my podcast and I would tell people to subscribe, I would say, okay, so you're looking at the screen. Bottom right-hand corner, you have a red rectangle. In that, it has some letters. If you can't spell, it says subscribe. Hit that, and adjacent, there is a bell. Enable that bell because bells ring, and that's what we need here,
No,
right?
I know how to do it once we get to the page. It's getting to the page that's the challenge.
I'll create a tutorial for you and then the folks.
Joe, for the record, that does not look like a puppy.
Oh, that's a lap dog. What do you mean? She's 11 weeks, 27 pounds.
Huge.
That's normal, right?
As Mac would say, she's huge.
Huge. Great Danes, yeah.
Wow.
They're beautiful.
Can she play the power play for the Leafs? But before we get into that, before we go there, Mac, we had 6-7 games. Of course, LA and Colorado was postponed last night, but we had half a dozen, including Vancouver's first game in 23 days. And a lot was made out of this story, including JT Miller making those comments that we're not quite ready. Now, whether or not you want to feel like maybe it was blown out of proportion in terms of where this story went on whether or not the Vancouver Canucks even wanted to play or not, I think that was put to bed last night. They did want to play. They just were looking for another 48 hours to kind of get their feet underneath them. We've had issues in the past with COVID through teams, but with this variant out in Vancouver, it was clear they were hit as hard as we've ever seen. At any sport, at any level, NFL, it wiped out the Vancouver Canucks, including Travis Green, who was down and out for over 14 days, and he's well documented what that's been like. But, Mac, I think Vancouver Canucks can look back at this season and probably think that last night against the Leafs was the highlight, the one that I think people will probably remember more than any other game this year.
Well, look, I listened to Travis Green's 17-minute interview he had on Sportsnet, and I'll tell you what, it was frightening to listen to it. It really was, and I listened to the entire thing because he talked about himself, the players, back to himself, and what he went through. And, I mean, it really is unbelievable that they came back after what they've been through for that period of time and played the way they played last night. I mean, I know Holtby was terrific. I get that. But the whole team played hard and were possessed to try to compete. I don't know they were about winning, but they really wanted to compete in that game. And they certainly did against a pretty good Leafs team. But full marks to them. I mean, shift after shift after shift, the battle that was in that group, whether it was penalty killing, 5-on-5, power play, they gave a real good performance. And like you said, they've had their ups and downs this year, but to come out and play after what they've been through, which was very, very real. And Travis said, don't anybody think that this isn't severe and serious, because it was.
Well, the big question in terms of, and I was one of them, Mac, I sent a couple of text messages to some buddies, and I was like everybody else, that this could be ugly for the Vancouver Canucks tonight.
Yeah.
And yes, they were outplayed. They outchanced Vancouver, but one place that they didn't outbeat them was the energy coming off of the Vancouver Canucks after being off 23 days. And I don't know if everybody got a chance to listen to Bo Horvat speak prior to the game, but it was compelling. And it probably wasn't outside of other things that you've heard from a captain, but it was just the way he said it with conviction, Mac. And they just weren't words. You felt it from Bo Horvat when he talked about we're going to compete. We got pride. We're not just mailing it in. And true to his words, they were there. They didn't get off to a great start. They chased the scoreboard, but their energy didn't really lay off, Mac. They were good.
Well, you know what it reminded me of? A bit of a playoff game last night, to be quite honest, because we saw that raw emotion that we get when we go from the regular season to the playoffs. And you often get at playoff time where the underdog really takes his emotional level to a whole nother stage, because you're up against a favorite and you're going to bring it. You're going to bring that extra battle in your game, that extra hit, that extra block shot, that extra back check, all the little extras that you get when you're an underdog at playoff time. And the game goes to a different level because of it. And it was reminiscent of some favorite to an underdog playoff games that I've watched in the past. And we've seen it year after year after year, where the underdog, because of their emotional lift, gets it done at playoff time. It reminded me, not that it wasn't as fine-tuned, I guess you would say, but it was raw emotion, and I loved it.
And it just to my point earlier, I think it really stemmed from Bo Horvat. And to go out there and then score a couple of goals. But I think for Bo Horvat's career, in many ways, a bit of a defining moment that we're going to look back, I think, and we're going to remember this game. We're not going to remember a lot about Vancouver missing the playoffs this season, but we will remember this game, and we will remember Bo Horvat looking us straight in the eye and saying, we've been through hell, but we're ready to compete. And I think it bodes well for Vancouver Canuck fans, knowing that this guy's going to lead you for hopefully the next 10, 15 years.
Yeah, and you got JT Miller who spoke out against the league, essentially saying it was basically a joke what was going on, that they were a joke that they were going to make them play that quickly. If he wouldn't have spoken out, there would have been nothing done. It was strictly Miller, in my opinion, Miller speaking out that created that extra couple of days that they desperately needed. You listen to Travis talk about how they tried to up the practices and get into more body contact and one-on-one battles in practice, trying desperately to get them ready to play. But Hey, and Holtby come up with a performance of the year for himself, which he hasn't been great, but he certainly did. And then, you're expecting Toronto to feast on this. You're expecting a stagnant power play to feast on this. And they got through the first few kills, and then it was frustration on the other. They created frustration at times for the Leafs.
Before we get into the Leafs a little bit here, just on Travis Green, how much coaching do you think he would have done prior to that game?
I think those, he said they spent a little time. I think it was strictly let's bring our intensity. Let's really battle. I think that would be the major discussion. You're going to touch on the power play, penalty killing meetings. You're going to do that same stuff you do all the time. The special teams meetings, but it would have been 90% based around intensity. And let's battle these guys. Let's show them what we're made of. I saw a team that came out fired up, ready to take it to the Leafs in every which way they could. And that wasn't enough because the Leafs outplayed them, I guess, but they certainly didn't outbattle them. I'll tell you that.
All right, before we get into maybe a hot goaltender in Holtby, a cold power play, although Matthews did get them off the schneid with the power play goal. The talk, of course, is the Edler hit on Zach Hyman. We do know Alex Edler will have a hearing, could be at any point now today, regarding his knee-on-knee hit on Zach Hyman. Zach Hyman has emerged as third most valuable player on the team. If we can go Matthews and Marner, he's really pushed it up a level, Mac, that's made him kind of irreplaceable. And yeah, they went out and got Foligno, which could help lessen the blow if it's long term. But I'm not even sure Foligno is much of a substitute for what Hyman's been able to do.
No, Foligno brings the character, he brings the grit, he brings the passion, but he certainly doesn't bring the skill level anymore. He still can skate, but I don't know, did he go 22 games this year with one goal or something on a certain stretch in Columbus? So he's not, but with these guys, that may help. There's no doubt in my mind that he'll chip in some important goals, but not close to the same player for me, not close.
All right.
But they're lucky they got him. They're real. If Hyman is out for an extended period of time, they're very lucky they did get Foligno to come in. And it sort of set the tone last night. For me, everybody's been questioning, where is Foligno going to play? I thought that Keith showed his cards last night when he did his lineup as to where Foligno will play.
It'll be no different than Joe Thornton starting at the very top and then working his way down. And that's where Foligno's going to start, right at the top, right? Well, top six.
Yeah, look, when I see a game, Galchenyuk, Matthews, Marner as your first line, Robertson, Tavares, Nylander as your second line, that would indicate to me that he's going to slide in place of Robertson for the playoffs. Foligno, Tavares, Nylander.
Don't.
And I'm looking at Galchenyuk, and I listen to them go on and on about him between periods. And I'm thinking, oh my God,
don't wander,
enough already of Galchenyuk.
Don't wander too far here. I want to stay on the Edler Zach Hyman hit.
Yes,
this is not an uncommon thing, right? We're going to see this half a dozen times during this regular season. Over the course of 1,300 games, no pandemic. It is a hit that we've seen on a few occasions where a guy tries to get on the inside and the defenseman goes, whoa, whoa, whoa. First of all, yeah, is it a dirty hit? Yeah, it is. Did he stick out his leg, his knee? Yeah, absolutely. Is he going to get suspended? Yes. What do you see? A standard 2-game suspension, much like we've seen in the past?
That's what I see. Look, I I think we had a situation when I watched the game last night, and in a game like that, you get caught out on the ice for lengthy shifts. You saw
3-minute shift.
You saw Myers get caught out on extended shifts. You saw Edler get caught. And when guys are exhausted, they do things in situations they typically don't do. Edler is the last thing from a dirty player for me. It was a desperation move. You don't like to see it. But to me, it was fatigue combined with desperation. And unfortunately, a guy like, Hyman gets injured on it. You hate to see it. You don't like to see a knee on knee. But unfortunately, it's a reaction thing. It's a fatigue thing.
Yeah, it is, Mac. But
you don't like it.
And everybody's saying it's instinctive. Well, you know what's instinctive? I'll tell you what's instinctive is that when a defenseman confronts you on this, and I've been through it a lot, is that the mindset of the defenseman at that point is, I'll give you the outside,
right?
But there's no chance I'm going to give you the inside, and I'm going to get a piece of you, no matter what. And that's why I'm leaning my right leg out, is because I don't give you a freebie on the inside lane. And it's a conscious decision from a defenseman to say, I'm going to stick my leg out. At the worst, do I get a penalty? Yeah, I could get a penalty. But this one ended up a lot worse on a knee-on-knee. But
yeah,
a defenseman's mindset is, I'm getting a piece of you. You're not getting a free lane in the inside, the middle of the ice. And Edler paid the ultimate price, and Hyman may be worse with a potential season-ending injury.
Well, you sure hope. I hated to see today that it was the same knee that he had the ACL on. You definitely don't want to see that. For the Leafs' sake, I mean, this guy, every line he's on, I mean, he makes the Engvall line. He makes them go when he puts them with them. You put him with Matthews and Marner, it helps. Every line you put him with, he helps. Big blow, because at playoff time, he's going to play in a lot of different scenarios. So you hope that he's going to be back. You hope that it's not serious, because if it is, it's a tough blow to the Leafs.
You know what I really thought sucked for Maple Leaf fans is after that hit, and it is a dirty hit. You want to stick your leg out, you run the risk of knocking my knee out. That's just a flat out dirty play, any way you look at it.
Yeah.
But the lack of response, Mac, from the Leafs after watching one of your top players roll on the ice, and you're still going down on the ice as if nothing happened, to me was horrible. And I don't need anybody to go and punch Edler in the face 10 times. At the end of the day, if your argument is, what's that do? I'm okay with that.
At least cross-check him.
But what you can't do is not confront him and at least tell him that's not okay. That you cannot. I'm not going to let you get a freebie off of that as if nothing happened. And at the very least, you show the perception out there that you're a close-knit team and you care about each other, and you call Edler out on that bullshit hit. That's all you needed to do. If it's a scrum, if it turns into a fuck you contest, right? A couple of face washes, at least do that.
At least
yesterday I watched Tom Wilson go after Corrali on a hit that we can argue for whatever reason. You thought it was dirty, not dirty. He fell, whatever. We'll get into that later. But did you see the reaction after that from the Boston Bruins and Washington on what type of hit that was? And
exactly. And these aren't tough guys. These aren't tough guys going after them. These are teammates sticking up for a teammate. And whether you like it or not, it's important.
What else did I see last night? I saw Lafreniere with the Rangers get thrown into Blackwood, I think, in Jersey. And Jersey, again, whether or not he was pushed in or not, whatever the case is, it caused a chain reaction to say, hey, I don't like you going into my goalie. And I just didn't see anything of that out of the Leafs at all. And it was a dirty hit. Somebody should have said something to Edler.
Well,
because then you give the perception that you're this is the way it's going to be the rest of the season. So we look after each other.
The emotion was in this game. I guarantee if a Vancouver player was hit, you were going to see the response. You're going to see the response. So it's something the Leafs have really, really struggled with for a long time. You know, every once in a while they bring in a tough guy, but he's one person. And you're not looking for a tough guy to do anything last night. You're looking for just a response from the guys that are on the ice. That's all. And that's with most teams, it's just part of the deal. It's part of the deal.
Wolfpack mentality, right?
And at playoff time,
whoosh.
You better have it at playoff time. You better have it at playoff time. Not taking bad penalties, but you've got to be there.
I don't. They're first of all, they didn't have a regular season that warranted that behavior.
No.
So you're going to just flick a switch in the playoffs now?
Yeah, it's going to be tough. But they don't have, and they're not built that way. Whether we like it or not, they're still not. With Simmons, if Simmons is on the ice, what does Simmons do? But we're not looking for the tough guy. But that's just Simmons. Simmons knows
he was not on the ice. My recollection was he was not on the ice.
And he knows. I guarantee you, he would have went after him.
But there was shifts after that, Mac. It just I didn't see anything. The game should have gotten uglier. I don't care if you've been off 23 games and you dealt with a pandemic. I couldn't give a shit. All I saw was a dirty hit on one of my top players, and things should get ugly the rest of the game. I should at least mention to you that I'll go after Hughes. You want me to take his knee out? That's the mentality I think that a lot of teams that end up winning the Stanley Cup have.
If Edler wouldn't have been thrown out of the game, we might have seen something. We might have.
Yeah.
You know?
I don't know. There's just I know the game's evolved, Mac, and you don't need to. There's no need for a 5-on-5 brawl or any of that. But there still has to be a level of accountability for taking a guy's knee out that I thought the Leafs didn't hold Vancouver in that regard. So, but is that the Leafs' biggest issue?
Was there any discussion post game about it? No,
nobody.
No
mentioned
questions.
It. Yeah,
no questions about it.
I mean, it wasn't. It's just. I think it's just common, like you said, that the Leafs aren't built this way. They don't play this way. They've never really gone after, tough guys in the past. It was just not really part of their mindset or their build.
It's not.
If that's not a major concern, would the power play still be?
Well, the power play is a real issue for me. I thought, when I was watching last night, and I tried to watch it a little closer than normal, your comment last week about if you don't have a point presence on your power play, you have a tough time. Now, a point presence can be a big shooter or a big playmaker, but he's got to be a special guy on the point on the power play that creates things and you work around. If they think that they're going to use this cute power play down low and 90% of their plays are going to be cute down low plays, at playoff time, it's going to be really, really challenging. There's too many battles down low. There's too many defenders who will pay an unbelievable price that you're going to make cute plays down low constantly. And, Morgan Riley, we love Morgan Riley. I think he's a terrific player. but I don't think he's a point presence guy right now. I don't think he's getting it done.
Yeah,
and I don't know. I love this guy as a player.
He's missing a slap shot, Mac, a bona fide
or the
play.
ability the ability to get it through from the point on a regular basis. So, you know what? I just don't like. I mean, they're loading it up. Last night they loaded up with Matthews, Marner, Nylander, Tavares, and you know. Then they come with the second unit. They were probably just as effective. I don't know. They try to do things, you know, but I don't know. I mean, this was an ugly power play when they went through 2 or 3 power plays and a 5-minute major against a team that hadn't practiced in 24 days, and they were still totally ineffective until an individual play makes a difference on it. Maybe they got to rely on individual plays when they play the power play the way they do.
Yeah. You know, down Mike Babcock's stretch as a coach of the Toronto Maple Leafs, they went heavily with Tyson Barrie. And of course, we all know that, you know, ultimately that experience failed. But it was interesting that Morgan Rielly was designated as a B guy down that stretch. And you know, Tyson Barrie doesn't necessarily have what we know is a big booming shot, but we do know Darnell Nurse can shoot the puck. And right now, it just seems that doesn't take much to watch film and understand that Marner and Matthews at the flank are your 2 most dangerous guys. And if you start paying a lot more attention to that, then I'm okay with Morgan having the puck at the top of the top of the point. And you know, most often than not, he's trying to find bodies and sticks out front. Earlier on in the season, it just seemed to be something that was a little easier to find than it is right now.
And there's too many guys that have that pass first mentality. It's you know, Matthews, he will shoot it once in a while, but Marner is always looking to make the perfect play. Nylander, perfect play, although he'll shoot a little more. Matthews, he looks to make the perfect play, but he also will shoot the puck. And Holtby made a couple of great saves on him. You can't rip them totally because Holtby did make a couple of outstanding saves. But all I'm saying is that cuteness disappears at playoff time. Cuteness disappears, you know, and penalty killing goes to a whole nother level at playoff time. A whole nother level at playoff time. Because guys they'll follow the system closer, and the battle part of their game goes to a whole nother level. And so they've got to fix this. I mean, 2 goals in the last 45, 46 power plays is it's mind-boggling is what it is. It really is mind-boggling. And then you take Hyman out of there, you know, not that he's the main guy, but he's a freaking important guy. Let me tell you, 5-on-5 and on the power play.
Holtby's not the first goalie in NHL history to flat out steal a game here, but
no.
How do some Leaf fans want to compare this to David Ayres and losing to a Zamboni driver? I don't get that. I lost to a Stanley Cup champion last night. I didn't lose to a Zamboni driver,
but he was good, and he knew them because he used to practice with the Marlies, so he knew them. But look,
it wasn't that bad, Mac.
No, it wasn't that bad. So you know what? And then I look and I'm trying to figure out the line combinations, and then I see them fooling with their defense pairings. We know that Hall and Muzzin were not very good the game before, so they're broke up, and now you got Hall playing with Rielly, and you got Muzzin and Brody, and I'm thinking, oh man, what this is experimentation. We'll see.
They look a little tired back then.
I said it to you. I sent you a note last night. I did not like the fact they didn't add to their blue line. I know they added Hutton, but I'm not considering him. I mean, he's just a depth guy. But
I think though.
I'm sorry. That blue line makes me nervous. I really do.
I see the energy down a little bit, and Morgan Riley's a driver on this team. When it's going,
Sure
he
he
is a driver. Okay. And he might
Sure
not be the
is.
perfect power play guy, but he is a major driver, and he's getting up and down the ice, and he is a constant presence.
Oh,
and
you
right
love
now,
him. You love him.
You don't see that right now. And I'm just wondering if the 24, 27, 28 minutes kind of catches up to you a little bit here. Muzzin included, right? Muzzin's not a great skater. So he labors out there, which is fine, but it does catch up to you here. They look tired back there. Hall, he's had a great season, Mac, but he's come down to earth as well.
But and that's why I'm confused why they didn't try to add a defenseman.
Well, they really did. Am. That's all they had.
Didn't. They didn't add a defenseman.
Hutton.
Yeah, I know. That's what Hutton. I said.
That's all. That's the best that they could do.
No.
I would put him in. I would put him in.
Best. I mean, I guess we're looking at like I really thought Edmonton would add somebody. I really thought Toronto would add somebody. We know that Florida added somebody, and we know that Tampa added somebody, So I watched that blue line last night, and they make me a little bit nervous. That's all. But, maybe they'll outscore the opposition at playoff time too, which they've done all year. And they're sure as hell capable of doing that. So
we talked heavily about Jack Campbell last week and how critical he was of himself. Were you okay with his post-game comments last night? I don't think he beat himself up quite like we talked about last week.
No, but I mean, you talked about it last week about embarrassed myself, but he same thing. He said I was outplayed by the other goaltender. Well, I guess it's okay to say that he was outplayed. I mean, I thought there were 2 bad goals on him last night. I mean, Holtby, the first goal on Holtby, he wasn't set. He was in bad position on the first goal, but then he battled back great. I thought Jack was at a position. Is what we're seeing with Jack Campbell, is that what he is? He's an average NHL goaltender. Is that what he is?
Well,
I think so, which is pretty good. An average NHL goaltender is pretty good. He was like playing out of his mind. I don't know if he can keep that up, but the last 3 or 4 games we started to see,
He went through a stretch where you saw why he was considered 11 years ago a top NHL prospect in the world. That's first rounders in the National Hockey League. When you're a goalie, you're supposed to be rather special.
Yeah.
So why hasn't he turned himself into a number 1 goaltender in over 10 years? Talent has shown us going 11-0 that you have the ability to be the best player on the ice some nights. But then you go through this mental challenge that he's been and the roller coaster of emotions. And you understand that this game isn't just played with skill, it's played between the ears. And you just wonder if that's what kept him from being a number 1 goalie all these years, is these emotional swings of being so great and then calling yourself an embarrassment.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about the comments last week. I didn't like them. I thought it was, stay away from that. Just focus on what you can focus. But I talked to an NHL scout this morning who knows this guy inside out. He said, hey, I love Jack Campbell. I love Jack Campbell. I love everything about him. I love his game. I love his character. I love the type of guy he is. But what we've seen the last few games is what he is as a goaltender, an average NHL goaltender. I hope this scout's wrong. I hope that he has an unbelievable playoff and proves a lot of people wrong. But
what's going to matter here is Kyle Dubas and Sheldon Keefe, and where is your mindset here? You can't just go. I don't know. Maybe you can. Maybe Vegas and Peter DeBoer is now taking us back to Fleury and Robin Lehner splitting, but even Peter DeBoer had to pick somebody last season, and he picked Lehner. Like the Leafs have to pick somebody that they're going to favor or at least groom them for game 1 in the playoffs.
Well, they've got to get. Well, they've got to get Freddie healthy first. They got to.
Well, Matt,
it's not even close for me. It's not close between Freddie and Red.
He's on the ice.
It's not even close.
He's on the ice. They said he's going to play again. So have you seen enough that you say we got to focus on getting the net back to Anderson as quickly as possible and see what he has?
Like, I think the thing is you've got to get Anderson in there and see where he is health-wise, where he is mentally, and see, you've got 17 games or so left. You've got to get some kind of there's got to be, and I'm sure there is, like Kyle and Keefe are smart guys. I'm sure they've got a game plan in their head as to how many games each guy's going to play. But the other problem they have is how many games is Campbell going to play? How many games is Freddie going to play? And they can't just leave Riddick sit in case he has to be ready to go as well. So you got 3 guys that you've got to keep reasonably sharp game-wise until the playoffs. And you've only got 16, 17 games to do it, or roughly that. But they've got to get Freddie in there sooner or later and see where he is.
Do you think Mark Bergevin's happy that we're talking Anderson and Jack Campbell and we're not talking Jake Allen and Carey Price right now?
I think I don't know if he listens to the show on a regular basis, but if he isn't, he's got somebody that knows that somebody that does listen to it.
What do you, if you're Montreal, if you're Mark Bergevin, switching gears now to the Montreal Canadiens, Mac?
Just can't we just finish with the Leafs on the oldest line in the history of the game?
Mac, we got the rest of the week. We got the rest of the week.
The Spezza, Thornton, Simmons line, which that was to honor Gordie Howe's games played, to put that line together last night.
We'll talk a little bit Patrick Marleau later on in the show, but let's switch gears a little bit to Calgary and Montreal. We look at the playoff races now, Mac, and we'd like to think that there's one in the North. That's how old I am. But as bad as Montreal is, as bad as their offense is, as tired as their defense look, as much as there's an issue on when Carey Price can get his game back, it's going to be hard for Calgary or Vancouver to think that they have a chance to gain on Montreal.
Well,
can you see it at all? Can you see Montreal and their offense so inept that they would actually allow Calgary to get back in this?
Well, I got to tell you, Allen to me has been a great story this year. He came in to give Price rest, and I watched the game against Calgary the other night. I thought he was really, really solid, battled like crazy in the net, and gave them a chance to win the game. And it was a hard-fought, close game. And then Price comes back, Ottawa, 15 shots on goal, and he gives up 4 goals. I'm getting tired of hearing when Carey Price is going to find his game. I've heard it now for a couple of years. Like, he catches it, and he plays great, and then all of a sudden,
what choice does Bergevin and Ducharme have?
They don't have any
options here.
They don't have any choice. They don't have any choice. But
you're gonna
have to play.
You're gonna bench him. You're gonna bench him for Allen now if he's healthy. Not a chance.
No, you're gonna play him here. You're gonna play him,
and you're gonna go down with that ship.
I know you are, but has he been as good as Allen?
No.
So eventually you got to play who's going to give you a chance to win, and that's a really, really tough question, a tough situation for Donald Ducharme. I'm serious. That is and Bergie. That is a tough call. Price, one of the greatest goaltenders in Montreal Canadian history, but he's been outplayed by Allen a lot of the season.
Ducharme getting pushed on getting Cole Caulfield in there. And it got to the point where Ducharme's like, I can't make any changes to the lineup.
No, he can't. Well, he can't get him in until he gets somebody to go on in IR. So the only way Caulfield, because of the salary cap predicament, is they need somebody to go on IR. And the only way somebody can usually go on IR is if they get injured. Sometimes you can go to
what would you do right
Island.
Now?
What
would you? Yeah. So what you're essentially telling us is you'd manipulate the cap and you'd find a way to get him in. That's what you're telling us right now.
No, I would be very skeptical of doing that if I was a GM, because I've got to believe the league is really watching this closely with the number of guys that are on IR and the movement around the cap, especially deadline day. We've heard, I know some people have reported that they've been looking closely at this. You can't fool with that. You can't fool with that, because the cost would be pretty significant if you're caught by the league. So I think the only way Caulfield gets in is if somebody gets injured. I'm anxious to see this kid. I've talked to people that watch him in Wisconsin.
Every Montreal Canadian fan is. They really think that he can come in now and Montreal could strike lightning in a bottle, and this guy could come in and score now.
Well, I'm telling you, people that have watched him a lot at Wisconsin tell me, and people that I trust, people tell me this kid is the real deal. He's the real deal. So how do they get him in without an injury? Well, somebody, hopefully they can find a way to get him in, because they need a little jump start with this group right now. Their defense looks, as you said, look tired. They look slow. I mean, Drouin, I don't know. Let's forget about talking about him.
Can't score.
I mean, it's unbelievable. He
can't score,
Yeah.
And the other thing too, Mac, is, when we heard Eric Staal got traded to Montreal, we did our thumbnail on, does he have anything left?
Mm-hmm.
And so far the answer is no.
Well, look, where would this team be without Toffoli and Anderson? Where would they be without those two guys? And Allen. Toffoli, Anderson, and Allen. Where would they be?
Huge signings.
Oh, huge signings. And guys that have competed like crazy. I mean, there's lots of guys that have too, but, I mean, they're so lucky they've got those three guys.
Well, Stahl's -8, Mac. He got a freebie of a goal from Mike Smith, who should admit that was the worst goal he let in all season long. It was, and he just, there's nothing there. And all of a sudden, what did they give up? A third and a fifth, if I'm not mistaken?
Yeah.
Those are expensive pieces for no points and -8.
But it also, it looks very similar to what Eric looked like when he went with the Rangers. For whatever reason, he doesn't seem to be able to, he did in Minnesota in the regular season, he got it going. I don't think did they ever play in the playoffs with him? I suppose they did, but I mean, he was good there. I remember one year they got to get him on when the net's empty, because I think one year he had 11 empty net goals in Minnesota.
Okay. Playoff races, Rangers with another win against New Jersey. We spoke about that. Boston and Washington. Is this a first round? And if it is, I think it's got a chance to be highly entertaining, Mac.
Oh my God, is it a war? And I mean, watching Ovi's frustration when they didn't call the penalty on the goal. What was it, after late in the second? I mean, he was a man on a mission. Wilson was running, but I'll tell you what a series it will be because of the star power on both teams. The Bergeron line, Marchand is so damn good right now. It's unreal. Pasternak, did you see the Pasternak play back into the high slot in the goal last night? Just a quick release, picks it up on a great pass and drops it back into the high slot. Krejci, I mean, we've been talking about the Boston Bruins for 4 years that they don't have a winger to play with Krejci. And now they've got Craig Smith on one side and Taylor Hall on the other. And Taylor Hall actually looks like he can play again. He actually looks like he can play again.
the pass that you're talking about, Pasternak, was to Bergeron in the slot.
Yeah.
It was Kuznetsov on the back check, and I thought he quit on it a little bit. And I've always said when it comes to the Boston Bruins, your big boys are your big boys, but that Krejci, when he's on his game, that's when the Boston Bruins go to another level.
Well,
I watch I watched Kuznetsov.
Yeah.
And this guy we watched when they won the Stanley Cup, I think he had 32 points in something like 24 games. And he could have easily won the Conn Smythe. We know Ovi got it for a lot of reasons, a lot of right reasons. But Kuznetsov, if someone gave him the Conn Smythe that year, I'm not sure a lot of people could have a strong argument that that was necessarily wrong. But now I watch him, and he's nowhere near the guy that needs to come behind Backstrom. And it cost Washington. It may cost Washington another first round knockout.
I look, and I don't know if it's Eller or Kuznetsov on the ice. I can't tell them apart anymore. But I mean, look, Boston, Krejci is interesting. He's in the last year of his deal, unrestricted free agent. Looks like he may just retire or go back and play in Czech. Some people are saying that could happen. This is a big playoff. He's always had problems with health. There's always a big problem with shutting down the Bergeron line or one of them getting banged up in the playoffs. We know Marchand was banged up. We know Pasternak was banged up. Bergeron gets banged up a lot because of the way he plays. It is unbelievably important this line is better. Then they had a third line going last night with Coyle and Ritchie, and Corrali finally gets a chance to move up in the lineup. And Lazar has done a nice job on the fourth line with Wagner. And DeBrusk slid down onto that line last night. So Carlo's got to get back. Carlo's got to get healthy. They need him on the back end. But I'll tell you what, Tuukka Rask looked real good last night. Tuukka Rask looks like his game is right there. And are you comfortable with Washington's goaltending in the playoffs? That's a major question mark. I heard Brian Boucher talk about that at length yesterday in the broadcast. Are you comfortable with Washington? Yeah. They've both been good, but this is the playoffs. This could be a hell of a series.
Star power. Boston at 56 points. The Rangers at 52, just 4 behind, but Boston's got 2 games in hand. The Rangers power play looked awfully good yesterday, Mac. Yep. Zibanejad looks like a superstar again. The Rangers, this is going to be tough. I think if the Rangers can stay within 4-5 points, it'll be a great experience, but we don't necessarily see them catching Boston, do we?
I don't, with the games in hand. I mean, what are Boston behind the teams in front of them? 2 or 3 points?
Yeah.
I mean, I think Boston could finish in third. I really do. Depending. The Islanders are slipping now. As Trotzy said, they can't win on the road right now. Anders Lee is a major loss.
3 points behind. 3 points behind Boston with a couple of games in hand.
Yeah.
Or Boston's 3 points behind Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
With a couple of games in hand.
And Pittsburgh going and losing Buffalo yesterday.
Yeah, it's a
now
good
you
week,
got Boston.
Week.
You got Boston going into Buffalo. No pressure on Buffalo. No pressure whatsoever. Some guys playing for their jobs. And Boston are in there. I believe Boston are there 3 games in a row in Buffalo this week. So you can't go into Buffalo and take them light right now because they're loose and they're playing.
6-3-3 in the last 12 games.
Yeah.
We know Adams added Carmanos as an assistant general manager. Mac, does Don Granato now get a legitimate shot of being the full-time coach? Have you seen enough? Do you want to see more? I had mentioned Jeff Ward as a comparison where he took over the Calgary, came in, some success, gave him status as the full-time head coach job the following year, and they fired him. Where are you on Granato?
I happen to like Donnie Granato a lot. a lot. He's a quality hockey guy. He's been a lifer around the league. This is a monumental hire for the Buffalo Sabres. You've got the Eichel issue that seems to be pushed aside right now. That is going to come back into force as to what Eichel really wants to do. What do they do with Eichel down the road? This hire, this has got to be a big hire for me. It can't. I've heard Rumberland's college guy. I mean, this is an important hire for Kevin Adams.
But can Don Granato be a big, important hire full time?
No, he can't be. Not for me. Not for me. And I like him, and maybe he's an assistant, but I don't have that, and don't have a.
Yeah, they manage between management and coaching. Somebody's got to have some major NHL mileage underneath him as a head coach, or at this
going to be
right?
lucky
just for stability,
right? And Kevin's going to get a lucky break here in the next month because there's going to be some good coaches at a job. There's already some good coaches out of jobs, and there's going to be more good coaches. But you've got to make sure it's the right hire. Doesn't have to be a big name. Like Vigneault gets the job in Philly. Everybody raved about this great hire. And I don't think it was a very good hire. I don't. Evason gets the job in Minnesota. It looks like it was a great hire. I think it doesn't have to be the biggest name, but it's got to be the right hire for this situation in Buffalo. And the guy has got to be good. You've got to know he's good, and he's got to have credibility.
Okay, let's give some Arizona Coyotes some love here because, Mac, a big win over St. Louis. They're sitting in a playoff spot right now. St. Louis is chasing them. They've got 2 games in hand and 1 point behind them. And then maybe San Jose on the outside looking in. But I guess, you can't start the show this week without at least saying Arizona is hanging in there. I don't know how they're doing it. All that off ice, including the article, ESPN, I guess, or the Athletic, sorry, Katie.
Athletic.
Spoke of the issues off the ice, yet they just find a way to win.
You know how you said Eugene Levy was the owner of the Ottawa Senators? You can't say that Katie Lang wrote the article. It was Katie Strang.
Thanks for reminding me.
Okay.
So, Mac, Jacob Chychrun has now turned himself into a conversation about being one of the better defensemen in the league, and maybe one guy that could find himself representing in the Olympics as well.
Look, Chychrun has been a great star, but look, Tocchet, it starts with Tocchet and it goes from there. They were down 2-0 against St. Louis the other night at home. You think, okay, it's over. St. Louis are going to win this game. They come back and they win the game. It's like I said with Buffalo, it starts with Tocchet. It starts with Tocchet in this organization for me. He's a stabilizing factor. He's a good hockey man. He's a non-bullshit artist. He just tells it the way it is, and he understands the game, and he's got respect in the room. And I think he's the reason they're hanging in there. He's the reason they're hanging in.
It is.
That, for me, that's what it is.
It was, and despite their financial challenges, which we know they have, pretty much everybody does, but to not bail at the trade deadline has to at least make Tocchet feel somewhat good.
Yeah, they couldn't bail. They couldn't bail.
You don't think they could have? They could have bailed.
I don't think they should have, and I don't think they could have. How many times? You could only rebuild for 20 years before it catches up to you. They've been in a rebuild for 20 years. Come on. Enough already. I mean, you're in the race. You're in the playoffs at trade deadline. How many teams that are in the playoffs at trade deadline fold the tent?
Yeah.
Like you can't do that to your fan base and your players. You just can't. And Bill Armstrong didn't, and Tocchet didn't, and the ownership didn't. So don't think the ownership didn't want them to save some money at the trade deadline. I guarantee you that.
All right, staying in the West, Mac, Colorado and Vegas, 64 points each on this Monday. This thing's coming right down to the wire here. And Vegas, they ain't going away. A goal and an assist by Mark Stone, and I think they're 6 in a row now.
And Vegas are playing great hockey. Them in Colorado. This race. If St. Louis gets in, imagine the first round in the West. I mean, it is going to be unbelievable. And Colorado are a real good team. Vegas is playing great hockey. Minnesota are dying to play Vegas in the first round. They really believe they can give Vegas everything they can handle. It'll be interesting to see how it shakes out. I don't think Vegas would be overly. Let's not kid ourselves. Everybody wants to play Arizona in the first round. They want to play Arizona in the first round. They don't want to play, the other matchup.
Well, we'll see.
It's going to be fun.
We'll see San Jose play Vegas tonight. What we'll also see is Patrick Marleau will become the record holder for most games played in the National Hockey League. Currently tied with Gordie Howe, 1,767, Mac. And, for someone that, almost scratched his way to 450 games and 32, 33 in the playoffs, I have an appreciation for anybody over 1,000 games with longevity, let alone what Patrick Marleau's doing. But not everybody, Mac, is loving this record. And I'm listening or at least reading about Marcel Dion, who was quoted in Steve Simmons' article on the weekend. And he's talking about Ovechkin chasing Gretzky. But he says that he's not that impressed with the Marleau one. And I think it's based on the fact that he thinks that, Marleau's not much of a contributor. I think he said, he was quoted as saying he's got 2 goals a year. Is that fair? Is that a legit conversation to have, that Marleau's just hanging in there for the sole purpose of trying to break this record when maybe he necessarily wouldn't be in there anymore?
Certain people are going to feel that way for sure, but you can't take away from the career he's had. You said it, 1,000 games played you admire people that can do that. It is. I remember, hearing stories about Gary Unger in St. Louis when he was the Iron Man, and Dougie Jarvis when he was the Iron Man, and all these stories that they just would do whatever they could to get a shift in, to keep the record going. I'm not sure that was with Dougie, but I know with Unger it was, because I remember Bobby Plager telling me the stories when I was in St. Louis.
That does tarnish it a little bit, though, doesn't it?
When you hear that story about
Iron
Gary
Man,
Unger, the Iron Man is different from this, but this is Gordie Howe. I guess it's breaking Gordie Howe's record. I don't know how many games Gordie Howe played in the WHA, but did he play another 400 or 500 in the WHA after? So he's breaking the NHL record, which is important. I have a hard time being critical of Marleau. I really do. I think he's a guy that's been a good player in the NHL, been an important player in the NHL. He's got a lot of respect in the league. So I have a hard time being critical of him. I really do. Do I like to see him break Gordie Howe's record? I watched Gordie Howe play a lot. I got to know Gordie when I was in Detroit as an assistant coach. I'll never forget, we were at a banquet. I had him come into Columbus, and he wasn't in the greatest health at the time, but he came in and spoke at a Boys and Girls Club function for us, and we were sitting at the same table. And I got talking to him, and obviously he remembered me being in Detroit as an assistant coach, and he signed his autograph book, the book number 9. He signed it to Doug, a great former teammate, Gordie Howe. So I guess he thought I played with him, which made anyway, I still have the book. But, Gordy when he meant teammate, he meant, I guess I was assistant coach, but not when he was playing. I got a great Merlot story. I got a great story for Merlot, though.
Okay, let's hear it. We're not going anywhere.
This is Merlot's draft year. And
so 1997, right?
And the chief scout of the San Jose Sharks at the time absolutely loved this other player at the top of the draft. Absolutely loved this other player at the top of the draft. They had the second pick. San Jose had the second pick in that draft, and they were taking this other player at the second pick. The chief scout's over in Finland, and he's at the Hesperia Hotel, which I happen to have been to, and it is the greatest party bar hotel in the world, maybe. The Hesperia Hotel in Helsinki, Finland.
Glad you're doing prep work there.
And at 2:00 in the morning, the chief scout of San Jose sees the player he wants to take at 2 shuffling around the dance floor at 2 a.m. the night before a game, which was in the World Championships as a kid playing. Shuffling, and the scout goes up and says, "You should be home in bed, young fella." And the player who he wanted desperately to take number 2 told him to F off. He goes back and he says, "We are not drafting that player." And they took Patrick Merlot instead of him with the second pick.
All because you got caught on the dance floor.
All because he got caught shuffling.
And of course.
Now that's me. Like, I'm out on my walk jog today, and I got the E Street Band going, Bruce Springsteen, and I got a little shuffle going too, but it wasn't 2 a.m.
So you got that story firsthand because you were dancing beside the prospect.
That is one of the great draft stories that I know. I talked. It was one of their staff members that told me the story originally. I thought it was a great story. But anyway, I thought,
do you think
they were not going to take Merlot at number 2. They were taking this other player who will not use his name to protect him,
So do you think now that tonight, when we see Patrick Marleau break Gordie Howe's record, that this should be the last season that we see Patrick Marleau? Would you be surprised to see him hang in there? Is it?
I think he
reminds me of that movie Bull Durham with remember the movie Bull Durham with Kevin Costner, where he's Crash Davis and he's just in the minors because he wants to break the home run record, and then he hits it and then he leaves. He's gone.
Yeah.
Poof,
no,
gone.
That's probably the story. And I forgot about Bill Costner in that show because I'm watching him in Yellowstone now. So
good,
a little different look. Yeah, but anyway, it's great. Well, it's a little dark. Anyway,
all right.
It's good.
So that's good. You got a lot off your chest today on this Monday.
A lot off my chest. Yeah.
Shaping up for a good week. We're going to hit 10,000 subscribers, maybe as early as today. All of you watching, at the very least, hit the like button again for Matt because he just absolutely loves that. So maybe, if there's ever a time that Joe needs some babysitting for his new dog, maybe you could just drop him off at your place.
Well, we're used to dogs. We have horses, so he could play with the horses.
Yeah, you're used to it.
Their size.
There you go.
Their size. Yeah.
You offering for free, Doug? That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for free health care here, or dog care.
We love dogs at this household.
Where's the Big M? Where's the Big M right now?
Who's the Big M?
Joe, where's your dog, bro? Where's it at?
Is it Maddie?
He must be, something must be going on because he's muted right now and he's not wanting to hear dogs.
Yeah, she was whining just then. She heard you talking about her. It's Madden. Yeah, so this is gonna be a struggle. Doug's calling Jordan Joe. Now we're gonna be calling my dog Maddie. Like we got to get this under control, guys.
The Big M. You guys know who the Big M was, right?
Who's that?
Big Frank.
Oh, the Big M. Of course.
Yes.
Of course. The Big
Joe
M.
and I are both in our 20s.
I wish, man.
That hurts.
I turned the big 3-0 during quarantine.
Oh,
man. I wish I was in my 20s.
Oh, yeah. I forgot that casually. I just,
got yourself a dog for your birthday.
There you go.
Okay.
Great show,
Mac.
guys.
Good day today, Bal.
I got to head to the dentist here now. I got to get little more work done, like serious. I may be off Wednesday, but I'm hoping I'll be all right.
No. You pulled that shit earlier on in the year where you bailed on a tooth issue.
Jill told me this morning, we got invited out tonight and we're going to have Mississippi sweet ribs for dinner, which is a great rib place down in Delray. So we're getting a takeout. It's in Boca. We're getting takeout of Mississippi ribs. I said, "Oh, that'll be great." After I spent 2 hours in the dentist chair.
God, that just sucks being you, right? Doug Maclean, everybody, Summerside, and now sunny Florida, the best of both worlds. All right, Joe and Jordan, and Madden. Great Monday today.
Great Monday, on the hunt for 10,000 subscribers and 1 million views here on YouTube. Tell a friend. Right. Maybe they will enjoy the show. We'll figure it out.
All right. So for all of you, thanks for joining us again. We're off to a great week, and we'll see you Wednesday on the Real Kyper at noon show. Keep the comments coming. Love to hear from you. See you, everybody.